Welcome to Pray With Me. Today we are going back to the very beginning, to the moment before there was light, before there was sky, before there was anything at all except the voice of God. We will walk through the 7 days of creation, and at the very end, we will look forward to where this story is ultimately heading, a new heaven and a new earth. Settle in, take a breath, and let us begin where everything began. Day 1, Let there be light. In the beginning, there was nothing but formless darkness, stretching endlessly over the deep waters. No shape. No sound. No light. Only the Spirit of God, hovering quietly over the surface of the void, waiting. Then God spoke. Not a whisper, not a thought, a word, spoken aloud into the emptiness. Let there be light. And in that instant, light tore through the darkness for the very first time. There was no sun yet, no stars, no moon, only light itself, called into existence by the sound of God's voice. God looked at what he had made, and he saw that it was good. He separated the light from the darkness, naming the light day, and the darkness night. Evening came, and morning followed. The first day was complete. Day 2, the sky. On the second day, God turned his attention to the waters that covered everything. He spoke again, calling for a vast space to form in the midst of the waters, a separation between what would rise above and what would remain below. As his words moved across creation, the waters divided. Some rose upward, forming the sky above, while the rest remained beneath, vast and deep. Between them stretched an open expanse, clear and endless, holding the waters above apart from the waters below. God called this expanse sky. There was no bird yet to fly through it, no cloud yet to drift across it, only the vast, open space itself, freshly formed and waiting. Evening came, and morning followed. The second day was complete. Day 3, Land, Sea and Vegetation. On the third day, God spoke to the waters below the sky, commanding them to gather together into one place so that dry ground could appear. The waters obeyed instantly, pulling back and pooling into vast seas, revealing land beneath that had never before seen light. God named the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. Looking at what had formed, he saw that it was good. But he was not finished with this day. He spoke again, calling the land itself to produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and fruit trees, each one carrying the seed for the next generation within itself. And the earth responded immediately. Grass spread across the ground. Trees rose up bearing fruit. Flowers bloomed in colors that had never existed before this moment. The world that had been formless and empty was now covered in green, vibrant, living things. Evening came, and morning followed. The third day was complete. Day 4, the sun, moon, and the stars. On the fourth day, God turned his attention to the sky he had created on the second day, and he spoke lights into existence to fill it. He called for great lights to mark the difference between day and night, and to serve as signs for seasons, days, and years. The sun burst into being, radiant and powerful, taking its place to govern the day. The moon followed, softer and quieter, taking its place to govern the night. And alongside them came the stars, countless points of light scattered across the heavens, more than could ever be counted by human eyes. God set them all in place with purpose. The sun would warm the earth and mark the passing of each day. The moon would reflect light through the darkness. The stars would map the seasons and guide travelers for generations to come. God looked at the sky, now filled with light, and saw that it was good. Evening came, and morning followed. The fourth day was complete. Day 5, Sea Creatures and Birds. On the fifth day, God spoke life into the waters and the sky. He commanded the seas to teem with living creatures, and the sky to be filled with birds soaring across the great expanse he had made 2 days before. Instantly, the oceans filled with movement. Massive creatures of the deep glided through the water for the first time, alongside countless smaller fish, darting and shimmering beneath the surface. Above them, in the open sky, birds took flight, wings catching the wind, voices calling out across the heavens in songs that had never been heard before. God looked at every living creature he had made, in the water and in the sky, and he blessed them, telling them to be fruitful and multiply, filling the seas and the skies with life for generations to come. He saw that it was good. Evening came, and morning followed. The fifth day was complete. Day 6, Animals and Humanity. On the sixth day, God spoke once more to the land, calling it to bring forth every kind of living creature, livestock, wild animals, and everything that moves along the ground. And the land responded, filling with creatures of every shape and size, each one distinct, each one alive for the very first time. But God was not finished. He paused, and what he said next was different from anything he had spoken before. He said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." Unlike everything else he had made by simply speaking it into existence, this creation would carry something of God himself within it. So God formed humanity, male and female, in his own image, and breathed life into them. He blessed them and gave them responsibility to care for the earth and everything living on it. He looked at everything he had made, the light, the sky, the land, the sun and moon, the creatures of the sea and sky, the animals, and now humanity itself, and he saw that it was very good. Evening came, and morning followed. The sixth day was complete. Day 7, Rest. By the seventh day, the heavens and the earth were complete in all their vastness. Everything God had spoken into existence over 6 days now stood finished, the light and the sky, the land and the seas, the sun, moon, and stars, every living creature, and humanity itself, formed in his own image. And so on the seventh day, God rested. Not because he was tired, and not because the work had exhausted him, but because the work was finished, and rest was its own kind of completion. He blessed the seventh day and made it holy, setting it apart from all the others as a day of rest from the work of creation. In this quiet, completed world, the pattern was set, 6 days of work, followed by a day of rest. A rhythm woven into creation itself from the very beginning, long before it was ever written into any law. From the beginning to the ending. Revelation 21 verses 1 to 5. A new heaven and a new earth. The story that began in a garden does not end in ruins, it ends in restoration. Centuries after the 7 days of creation, the Apostle John was given a vision of what was still to come. He saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea separating what God had made. John saw a holy city descending from heaven, radiant and glowing, prepared like a bride for her husband. And he heard a voice declare that God himself would dwell among his people forever. They would be his people, and he would be their God, present with them in a way that had not been possible since the very beginning. In this new creation, every tear would be wiped away. There would be no more death, no more mourning, no more crying, no more pain, for the old order of things, the brokenness that entered the world after the garden, would have passed away completely. And the one seated on the throne said, "Behold, I am making everything new." The God who spoke light into darkness in the very first verse of Scripture is the same God who promises to make all things new in its very last pages. The story that began with his voice will end with his presence, dwelling with his people forever, in a world without end.